Ripping planks on the bandsaw is not something I commonly do, but on occasion. Ripping planks on the bandsaw is not something I commonly do. I usually don't have a need to, but on occasion, when you got something that you just need somewhat special, the bandsaw is a fine and, to be quite honest, relatively safe way to rip large chunks of wood, in this case some firewood I've cut down. A couple things to keep in mind. I usually keep a blade on hand with a rather chunky tooth like that for the ripping process. You need the room. These teeth are going to scrape off a lot of wood as they pass through, and you need the room in the gullet to kick out the sawdust. It'll also help you if you have an underpowered saw to run a chunkier tooth. It'll help that underpowered saw, like this one, do what you need to do. Also, every saw and every blade has an angle that it likes to feed through. If you have your table set square, you'll probably find that your wood wants to drift one way or the other, or the blade does. If that's the case, you simply adjust your fence angle until you come up with one that the blade is pretty happy with. And you just got to run some test strips. Otherwise, you're gonna eat through a couple of slices of your main wood before you figure it out. I know that this one likes to kick back. That's what it likes. But I'm still going to run a test here and make sure I have it set properly. Obviously, one of the downsides of the bandsaw is that it doesn't cut very smoothly, which is fine for me in doing what I'm doing. When I ran my test board, it came through rather square to the fence. You can tell the blade is not being pulled one direction or the other. So I have my angle about right, which makes sense because I've worked with this saw a lot. But you will need to find that angle the first time, at least, on your own saw. Now, I'm going to rip some big wood. You want to make sure your guide wheels are set as low as you can get them without actually touching your wood. And this is an awful lot for my little saw to handle. So know the limitation of your equipment before you try milling lumber. That was quite rough. I don't know if you could hear the pop in the video, but there it is right there. That is the blade loading up and then vibrating side to side. You can't see it with the naked eye, but it comes across as a pop. Usually the saw will then jump ahead, because as it's wiggling side to side, it's much more aggressive. You don't want that. I mean, you could push it fast enough and it would go pop, 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 all the way down the length of your log, but you're just asking to break a blade like that. You need to back off the feed rate, let the saw clear the sawdust, and just understand that your saw might be, again, like this one, a little too underpowered to do what you're asking it to do. So you got to work with it a little bit. Show it a little love.